Danny Dyer? Has he been stringing us along all this time? Or is he one of the best actors of my generation? Welcome back to GROT TV. So on Thursday, the 25th of October, I think it was, the Wigan Cult Film Club showed an evening of 2 Danny Dyer films. The evening was called This Is Bloody Dyer, where we took 2 of Danny's films that were on the edge of the horror genre, and we put them on for screening at the club. Now, when it comes to Danny Dyer films, there's a fine line, and the fine line is the early stuff where he's portrayed as this cheeky chappy, and he's a younger guy, and it sort of works with the films that he's doing, and those films are predominantly pretty good. Football Factory was probably the first thing I saw him in, and it's a good film, you know what I mean? It is what it is, but it's a good film. And then he went through this whole sort of slew of doing shit, but out the shit comes some pretty decent stuff. So we decided to show the sort of polar opposites, really, in terms of quality, but they're both quite entertaining in their own right. So the first film that they showed at the Wigan Cult Film Club was Doghouse. I think Doghouse is from around 2008, 2009. It doesn't hold up pretty well. It's not the best thing you'll ever see. It's proper shoestring budget. You know what I mean? This for a horror film is bare bones when it comes to budget. Now, they managed to pull some decent actors of the time into this. Stephen Graham's in it, who's probably the biggest person they could draw for this. Obviously, Danny Dyer's in it as well. Those 2 guys are pretty much front and centre in this. Noel Clarke, is it? The guy that was also in Doctor Who for a while. You know what I mean? If you know what's going on with Noel at the moment, you know what I mean? He's not the best. And for what the film is, it's fun. It's cheap. It's tacky. I think if it had been done a slightly different way, it could have worked in its advantage. It could have worked in its favour, but it sort of doesn't. The problem being with the film is it's slap banging that right kind of time of sort of lads mags, so your FHMs, your loadeds, all that kind of stuff. This film fits in with that. It's really misogynistic, and it's quite cringy because of it now. I'm not saying it wasn't at the time of coming out. I think it was just probably glossed over. People didn't read into it as much as what you do now, but it's very misogynistic. Funny in places, yes. Cringy in places, yes. The visual effects in this, I won't say everything's practical, but it's practical on a budget. Certain set pieces in it look really well. Certain set pieces in it haven't dated too well. Certain set pieces in it are fucking terrible. If you watch this film and there's a lot of severed heads going on in it, if you look at the severed head, basically they might as well have got a balloon, covered it in paper mache and painted it pink. That's about the level of it. I don't know who was responsible for the special effects in this film. I've never really looked, but the shonky, you know what I mean? The really bad in places. When it's good, but when it's bad, it's fucking terrible. But the premise of the film is quite good. Obviously, there's in a town called Moodley. Well, it's not even a town. It's like a 10-house village. The government and military are trying a secret weapon, and this secret weapon only seems to affect women. So it turns these women into sort of like mindless zombie, I don't know, rage sort of monsters. It's hard to explain what the hell they really are. Every woman's affected slightly differently by it. They've got this sort of like demonized zombie look about them, but then they just go about killing men. And then the military have tried to use this as a weapon. They've tried to weaponize it, and it's got out of control. And hence our guys rolling up into this town. Like I said, the whole lads on tour kind of thing, and it just all goes south from there. It's fun, it's tongue-in-cheek, but like I say, it's very, very misogynistic. So take from that what you will. But the other film that we showed was Severance. So I think Severance is around the same time, maybe earlier, maybe 2007, maybe 2009. It's around that time period. But Severance, unlike Doghouse, is actually really good. The acting's quite strong in it. Again, it's shot on a budget. You can tell when these kind of British horror films are shot on a budget because they end up in the woods. And pretty much like any other horror film that's shot on budget, if you're filming in the woods, you know you've not got much money. But the difference being with this, it works quite well for it. Again, Danny Dyer, he isn't front and centre in this film, but he is predominantly one of the main characters. And his character in this is quite, again, the cheeky kind of chappy that he is, the cockney, oh, yeah. But he's fun for it, whereas in Doghouse, his character isn't fun, he's just a bit of an arsehole. In this, his character, and he's playing this similar kind of guy that he plays in everything, but the character's more fun. And this film, again, is, I think it's set in Hungary. It's supposedly set in Hungary, I think. And a group of work colleagues have been sent to a retreat that's supposedly a team building exercise, a team bonding session for a weekend. Unbeknownst to them, there's a killer in the woods, and they start getting offed sort of one by one in some gruesome ways. The kills are really good in this. It holds up really well. It doesn't try to do too much. It just plays with it, but it plays with the story and the kills and the set pieces and the scenery very nicely. It all sort of comes together. Script's really good as well. Fleshing out of each character is quite nice. But again, that's down to the actors that they brought in for this particular film. It should have got championed a little bit more than what it did. Still doesn't have a really nice physical release in the UK. I think there's a company releasing a 4K this. I want to say that it's Vinegar Syndrome in the US is putting a 4K this out. I'd love to see it in 4K, you know what I mean? We just watched it on an old DVD, and the DVD on our setup, it looked good. So I'd like to see it in a 4K. But if you've never seen Severance, I can highly recommend it. It's a fun film. If you're into the sort of like slasher kind of sort of group session in the woods, then this is one that could probably tick boxes if you've never seen it. Feels typically English. It feels British, even though all the cast is British, but the actual setting and location isn't. It's definitely worth a watch. But all in all, the night itself seems to go down well. You know what I mean? The films of Danny Dyer. I mean, the one thing that came out of it was that has Danny Dyer been stringing us along for all these years? You watch what he's doing now, and he's sort of rising up again. People are sort of sitting up and taking notice of him again. Has he been stringing along for all these years that he's portrayed himself as a one-trick pony, but actually offers way more? I'm not 100% sure. There's something there. Also, there's a sort of fan theory within the club that Danny Dyer is just a character. That Danny Dyer isn't actually a real person. Pretty much like Lee Francis' Keith Lemon isn't a real person. We're sort of leaning on the edge of Danny Dyer isn't a real person either. He's just a character that this guy's made up and has just stuck with it for all these years because he's just the same in everything, but sort of fits within context of what he's doing. I'm not 100% sure. He'd probably tell us different if we ever spoke to him. But he's quite a nice, lovable, rogue, cheeky chappy in everything he does. I'm not saying everything he does has been brilliant, but there's definitely some standout films that he's done over the years. There's a film he did with Gillian Anderson as well, that I always forget what it's called, that probably was one that we should have shoehorned in instead of Doghouse. But they're the two we went with. We went with Doghouse and Severance, and a fun night was had by all. We laughed, we giggled, we winced, we looked away at times, but it was one of those nights that I thought would be interesting, and people found it so. Again, if you're a fan of Danny Dyer, if you're not a fan of Danny Dyer, leave some comments down below. Tell us what your favourite Danny Dyer film is. If it's one of the ones that we showed, if it's one of the ones that bizarre you've never heard of, drop a comment down below. I love hearing about this kind of stuff. So till the next one, guys, thanks for tuning in. We've been GROT TV.